Okay, guys, so we're working on the Mercedes 280 SEL, 280 SE, 250, also the Pagoda, right? What you're after here is this engine. So you want the engine with the mechanical fuel injection pump and not the carbureted engine. So this style engine. And what this video is going to be about is the electric fuel pump, which is back there, not the mechanical fuel pump right here. Everything is set right on this car, everything is good, but we're going to cover the electric fuel pump, what replacement fuel pump you can use instead of the $1,000 original one, and we're going to talk fuel pressure going to that pump, how to test it, and if yours stalls when it's hot and then when it cools down it runs, this could be your issue, which is my issue in this case. There is going to be a little bit of talking in this video, so bear with me, but this will resolve your running hot stalling issue and low pressure issue, which I will get to. Okay, let's get into this video right away. Okay, so bear with me here. I do gotta explain a few things. So the issue that I'm having with this car is it runs perfect, it drives perfect, everything is perfect about this beautiful car. But about 2 years ago, I started having a weird problem, which was if I was driving for a very long time on a hot day, the car would start misfiring, eventually it would stall, and the only way I could get it running again is I had to let it cool down. Once it cooled down, it would start back up and it would run perfect again. Same thing until it got really hot, and then same thing would happen. And that was a new problem that developed, and sometimes it would happen and sometimes it wouldn't, and I couldn't figure it out for the longest time, but I have figured it out now, and I'm gonna fix it in this video. Okay, so let me explain to you what it was and what happened. Okay, so I've owned this car for 11 years, and I'm gonna say for the first 9 years, this thing ran perfect, never had any issues, right? But when I bought the car, see right underneath here, there is the electric fuel pump. Let me get under there and show you. So here it is, as you can see, that would be the location of it. So as you can see, this is not the original Mercedes fuel pump. The previous owner put this on and there actually wasn't any issues with it. And I figured out why now. I didn't know this earlier, but so this fuel pump doesn't give enough pressure, what's required to run the mechanical fuel pump up here, right? I figured that out by hooking up a gauge, and now I know. I will get to all that. So basically, it didn't have enough pressure. So what this fuel pump needs is, like as in the electric fuel pump at the back of the car, needs to pump fuel at 11.37 psi to 15.65 psi. So basically between 11 and 16 psi, if you round it off, needs to be going to this, right? So I mean, the thing that tricked me was that the car ran good for 8 years and now it doesn't, right? So I always thought everything was fine with that until I tested it. So okay, I hooked up. So here's the fuel line. Let me show you. Bear with me, guys. All of this will make sense. Okay, so I hooked up a gauge that shows me the fuel pressure going to the mechanical fuel pump from the electrical fuel pump in the back, right? So the way this works is there's a gas tank, then there's an electrical fuel pump which pumps the fuel up front here, and it gets the fuel right here to this spot, and then it also runs, see, it runs into the pump right here, but it also, there's like a T, right? And it runs with this hose to the starting valve. See, it runs along, and this is your starting valve. So this always has between 11 and 16 psi of pressure in it, regardless, even if the car's not running. If your ignition's on and your electric fuel pump is running, you're gonna have between between 11 and 16 psi of fuel pressure. There's a little electromagnet here that opens and closes it. So when you go to start your car and the engine is cold, it opens it and extra fuel squirts in, and it helps at the start because you need more fuel to start an engine when it is cold, right? So they want you to test the fuel pressure of the electrical fuel pump at the starting valve. So I mean, you could hook up a gauge right here, which was hard to do because there's no room here. So all I did is, see, if you follow that, see, I hooked it up. I was able to disconnect this hose, see right here, and I was able just to bring it up a little bit, and I was able to fit this gauge in here. See, just like that with these fittings. I got a fitting there, and I got a gauge now. So now I can read the PSI, right? Okay, let me take you back in time right now, and I'll kind of show you, where I got this and how I set it up.
So I'm taking you into the past right now.
Hey guys, and welcome to the past. So we are in the past here. I am trying to figure out the gauge situation. So this is what I did. So there is a gas line, a gas hose, a gas line that goes from here, travels, goes in here, travels this way, goes under here, and goes into the starting valve. See, there it is. So what I did is I took that off. Very simple. See, you can remove it. How do you get it off? For example, if you got it there, see, like if this was attached, like so. Hang on, let me just put it on there. There you go, just like that. So when it's like that, how do you get a wrench in there, right? So let me show you. You can buy these type of wrenches. Napa sells them, 17 mil. So all you do is you go like this, and you go like this. See, and then you can get in there, and you can get it off. See, watch. Hopefully that helps you out. So you can get it on, and then break it loose, and then it comes off. So I got that off. Right? So now I got this thing off. So this is coming to the store with me. So I got it. See, that way I know what fittings to get. So I got that. And then another thing I took off, I already have it here. I'll just explain everything. So another thing I took off is right out of the starting valve, I took this out. I believe it was a 19. So I unscrewed this. So I had this piece and the hose, which has these fittings on the end, see, which are the same on both sides. So this side and the other side is exactly the same. So all I did is I brought this with me to the store, this little piece, and I said, I need to fit in a gauge in between this and the hose. Originally, I was gonna put the gauge here, but there is no room, and then I couldn't, I didn't wanna bend that gas line, but to put it here, there was tons of room. All I had to do is unscrew it here, and it just ran a little bit higher, and I was literally just kind of forced it a little bit to bend it a tiny bit, and I could fit the gauge in, as you've seen, guys, right? So as far as the gauge goes, so I went to a store that sells hydraulic fittings for hydraulics, like for backhoes and things like that. And I basically brought them this hose, this, and I said I need a gauge, that will measure fuel. So this would measure like hydraulic pressure, which works for fuel too. See, and you don't want a gauge that goes up to 100, because then it's hard to get it precise. So you want a gauge that goes up to 30, so you can see exactly 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So they gave me a gauge, they gave me a T, right? And they found me all the correct fittings. They're not exactly the same. See, it's like square in there, but for like a temporary thing, it worked. See, like same with this one. It is flat, see? But when you take that, right, and screw this onto it, it does work. It fits in there. Hang on, let me grab my tripod. Okay, see? So that just goes like this. So it's not perfect, but it does work and it does hold, because I've actually already done this. I'm actually not in the past. I'm actually all done now and I'm taking it apart, but I'm pretending I'm in the past so the video makes sense. See? So that's all I did there. And then this just screws right on. Here, let me go show you. Right? See, this just screws right onto this. See? See, it's flat too, but it worked. So yeah, I like talked to these guys, told them what I was doing. So that just screws onto there, and then I have my gauge, and that works perfect. And it doesn't matter if it's here or if it's there. It's the pressure in that line that you're supposed to check. So it doesn't matter if it's right there or right there. I know there's gonna be one or two guys, oh, you're supposed to have it over there. It makes no difference, guys. So you can put it right there. Okay, and as far as these fittings go, right? So the T he had, this part he had for whatever, and then we couldn't get a piece that would like screw into the T. So see, he just soldered it for me at the store. It took him like 2 minutes. So he took the T, took another piece like this, and then just soldered it together. No big deal. This whole entire thing cost me like, I think $60 Canadian. So under $100 you can get something made. You just got to find somebody willing to help and be creative. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the video where we were before, guys.
We're going back into the future.
Okay, we're back in the future again, right? So I hooked it up, and okay, well, let's start the car and I'll show you what pressure it's at. Okay, the car is running. So it is cold right now. It's been running for like maybe 3-5 minutes. Check it out. So as you can see, it's nowhere near enough. It's at like 8 PSI. So, I mean, the car's running and it runs good. Everything runs fine when it's cold. Even when it's warm, it runs. But when it gets really hot, it stops. And I will explain to you why. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go for a drive. And I'll show you guys. Once you drive it and get it warm a bit, the pressure drops even more. So I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes. Okay, guys, we are back. So check it out now. See, it's even lower. Watch when I rev it up a little bit. So obviously it's nowhere enough pressure. Okay, let's turn off the car. Okay, so let me try to explain what's happening here. So obviously, you know, number one problem is there's the fuel pump's not giving it enough fuel pressure, right? So right over here, look, there is a regulator. Can you see that? Let me show you that regulator. Okay, the phone fell, as you've seen. Anyways, see, there it is. So that regulator right there. So that is a pressure regulator that regulates the pressure for the return line. So what ends up happening is you're supposed to have between 11 and 14 PSI going into this pump right there. And then on the way out, this regulates, basically if it's lower than 8 PSI, it closes it and nothing will flow back. So then what ends up happening is the fuel just ends up sitting in there, right? And when that thing gets really hot and all these lines get really hot, what ends up happening is vapor lock. It's called vapor lock. What vapor lock is when gasoline boils, so it's actually boiling in there and it creates air bubbles. And then the air bubbles create like a condition where it's not getting fuel because there's air bubbles in the fuel. There's air in the fuel basically. And it prevents the fuel from going in, right? If you had high enough pressure, 14 PSI, 13 PSI, that stays opened. That regulator stays opened, right? But it doesn't open like all the way where like whatever's going in is coming out. It still regulates it. So there's always more pressure going in than what's coming out. It keeps the fuel circulating through, but it releases it slowly. So there's still pressure inside of the pump, right? But what that does is it creates, so the fuel is constantly going back into the gas tank and circulating. So it doesn't have enough time to heat up and start to boil in this thing. But when you have less than 8 psi pressure, that thing closes completely. It's still pressurized enough to run, but when it gets really, really hot, the fuel just sits in there, right? And it starts to boil and it creates vapor lock, right? So now here's the thing that got me is back in 2022, guys, I live in Canada. So back in 2022, they changed the law here, and every gasoline sold, even Supreme, 91 octane, everything, has 10% ethanol in it. And what ethanol does in gasoline is it lowers the boiling point. Get it? So it boils at a lower temperature than it would if it was just pure gasoline. So I would go to the States and I would put in ethanol-free gasoline, which you can still buy over there, and this thing would run fine. I wouldn't have the problem. But anytime I put gasoline in with ethanol, then the problem would happen, right? So then I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I decided to check the pressure here, right? And obviously the pressure is too low, and that is the problem. So the fuel is just sitting in it. So the reason I really wasn't having a problem before was because there was no ethanol in the gasoline, and now there is. Does that mean I can't run this thing with gasoline with ethanol in it? I can, but okay, let's go back to this fuel pump here. All right, so here it is, guys. So this is an aftermarket fuel pump that somebody put on, and everything was working fine because there was no ethanol in gasoline 10 years ago, right? But now there is. So this is a Carter pump, guys. I'm gonna take you to eBay right now and I'm gonna show you this pump that's in here, and I'll show you what the issue is with it. So in the search bar on eBay, I typed in Carter 4600 fuel pump. So there it is, as you can see. So now, see, if you look at the bottom, you can see the PSI rating. See, it's too low. And if it doesn't say it, you can always go in the description and it'll say it in there. So that is the problem. This is the fuel pump the guy installed. The guy as in the previous owner. So he just bought the wrong pump. That is the problem. I will show you the correct pump in this video. Okay, let's get back to the video. Okay, guys, so you saw that. So now here is another Carter pump. See, it looks exactly the same, but it's a black one. So let me take you to the eBay ad right now and show you this one. And like, these are only $100, guys. Okay, guys, back on eBay here. So this time I typed in Carter P4601 fuel pump, 15 PSI. So as you can see, a whole bunch pop up. They don't have to be Carter brand. They can be an off brand. Let's click on the first one here. See, I mean, this one looks good. Let's look at some pictures of it. See, so the only thing you have to do is you have to check the description. You have to make sure it's the correct PSI. Some of them are 9.5 PSI. You want between 14 and 16. So let's go to the description part here. See, item description from seller. Let's click on that. Okay. See, go down a little bit and look for the description. There it is. See, okay, I just passed it. There it is. So look, it says 14 to 16 PSI operating pressure. Use with regulator. Don't worry about the use with regulator part because there's already a regulator on the other side of our mechanical pump. So we're good there. So there it is. So this would be the correct pump. Okay, let's get back to the video, guys. Now you know how to find yours. All right, guys, so you've seen that. So here it is. Very easy hookup. So you just screw these in, one on each side, right? Slide on your rubber hoses and hook up your positive and your negative. They are labeled. I don't know if you can see that. There they are. pretty simple, guys. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna install this pump, guys, right now. So I got the car up on some ramps, very easy access. Okay, let's go under here. So here it is, and I mean, it's pretty simple. You got one hose coming out of the gas tank, goes into the pump, pumps it up to between 11 and 16 psi, and then that pumps it all the way to the front to the mechanical pump, and then there's a return line that goes, see, back into the fuel tank, which comes from the front back as well. Pretty straightforward. I'm not going to show myself installing that. If you have the original Mercedes pump and you're having this issue with the pressure being too low, so right here, you unscrew this thing. See, check it out. It's like a big hexagon drive, big giant Allen key. You unscrew that. There's a mesh in there. That is a fuel filter. You can clean that with like a garden hose, really good, and some brake cleaner, and put it back in. So that's one of the filters. Sometimes those can be clogged and it can cause the same condition. Okay, let's go to the motor area. And right over here, guys, see, check it out. Same on the Pagoda and everything. See, right here, that is a fuel pump, or a fuel filter as well. See, it's right. See, there's that stuff. Just right there. You just unscrew it from the bottom, the whole thing drops, and it's like a cartridge. It looks very much the same as your oil filter, which is right there. I do have a video on the oil filter. I don't have any videos on that, unfortunately, but I did change that before, and I did clean the screen, and that did not increase my pressure or fix my problem. Okay, I'm installing this thing. I'll see you guys in about an hour, and then we're gonna check the pressure, and then we're also gonna take it. I'm gonna drive this thing around all week, everywhere, grocery shopping, everything. I wanna be 100% sure that the problem is fixed. And this is a daily driver for me, guys. I do drive this thing a lot. Okay, see you guys soon. All right, so I got them both out. So they basically are identical to each other, but this one is supposed to be more pressure. So just like I showed you guys earlier, this is the black one, and see, this is clearly not the black one. So anyways, so it came with these, which, see, are bigger. So, I mean, you can buy these. You can go to like that same type of store that I showed you earlier with like hydraulic fittings and that. And you can buy these. But in my case, I just am going to unscrew these ones. Right? And I'm going to screw them in there. You don't use any Teflon tape or anything. These are compression fittings. You just got to get them in really tight, one on each side. So, okay, I'm gonna go set this up, guys, and start putting it in. Also, one of these is positive, see, and one of them is negative. So make sure you hook up the positive to the positive, the negative to the negative. If you hook them up backwards, the motor will run backwards. So pay attention to the wires when you remove them. Put them back on, positive to positive, negative to negative. Also on here, it says in, so that would be in from the gas tank, and then out towards the mechanical fuel pump by the engine. See, this one said the same thing. Okay, I guess that's all I can really say here. Let's go put it on. All right, it is ready to go on. See, so I got this on. I got these in, so these go on tight. So you put, you know, one wrench on one side, this on the other, and you put them tight. Like, you got to put them really tight. This one, and then the other one. It works. Okay, and then obviously check for leaks right here. If you didn't tighten it enough, it will leak there. Okay, let's go put it on. All right, guys, the pump is installed. I'm very happy with that. Okay, let's go try it out, guys. It looks good. There was no issues. All right, guys, good news. Check it out. Let me rev it up. All right, so as you can see, it's exactly where it's supposed to be, between 11 and 16. I'm ultra happy, guys. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is, you don't want to be driving around too much with this on here, just in case, you know, one of these leaks. So I'm gonna remove this back off. Obviously pretty straightforward, just the way we put it on. I'm gonna reattach that to that, tighten everything up, run this back through here, and I'm gonna drive this car. It's really hot right now. I'm gonna drive this car all week, guys, and I'm gonna fast forward a week from now. Let's see if it does the thing even once, where the car gets hot and it stalls and I gotta let it cool down. I already know it won't.
I'm fast forwarding into the future right now.
All right, guys, we are a week in the future, and I gotta tell you, I love this car. It is an awesome, reliable car, and I haven't had any issues at all. I've been driving it. It's so hot out, highway driving, idling at Tim Hortons, getting coffee. Zero issues, guys. So remember, I have an entire playlist on this car. I got videos on the mechanical fuel pump, how to set it up, videos on radiator, suitable replacement radiator from another Mercedes that you can get for like $100. Subscribe, like. Till next time, everybody.